Good morning. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Crown Jewels here on the PLD Projects Network. I am your host, PLD. And if this is your first time here, drawn to the Queen One box set announcement thumbnail and title, especially welcome to you. Here on Crown Jewels, we've been going through the entirety of the Queen catalog, song by song. There's lots of different versions of the songs, live versions, demo versions, remixes, etc. Trying to figure out which is the best version or titular Crown Jewel version of each Queen-related track, giving notes, quotes, histories. Let me see if the song slides into my top 10 Queen-related tracks of all time. This is a special edition of Crown Jewels, something we haven't done here before. You can tell because you're seeing my face. Usually this is an audio-only podcast, but I wanted to document how excited I am about this because today there was an announcement made. Queen Online and Brian May on Instagram announced that we will be getting a deluxe box set of the debut album from the band. Now, we had the box set from the Miracle album a couple years ago, which was a pretty good success overall. The band's fans have been clamoring for archive releases for years and have been, sometimes successful, sometimes not. A lot of the box sets have been overall made people happy with some great tracks and some unreleased tracks, but also have been lacking in some other areas. So I was very interested to see what they would do with this box set release. So what I want to do is go through the press release. Let's talk about it. Let's see what's coming out and what's not coming out. And at the end of this segment, I will document exactly what I'm feeling about how I'm going to incorporate this into the Crown Jewels podcast version. I know some of you might not care about that if you're just here for the news. I get it. I understand. I hope you'll check us out eventually. But for longtime listeners and viewers, I'll let you know what I'm thinking right off the top of my head. But let's get into the press release and we'll see what we have. I'm not going to read the entire press release. It is on Queen Online, but I want to go through a couple of highlights here. Over half a century since its release and a vital chapter in the band's story, Queen's self-titled 1973 debut album has been remixed and restored by Justin Shirley Smith, Joshua J. McCrae, and Chris Fredrickson, longtime Queen people, to sound the way the band has always wanted it to. A new track listing, alternative takes, demos, and live tracks have now been added to create the most complete version of this pivotal work. This is the very first time that a Queen album has ever received a new stereo mix. I'll stop there and talk for a brief moment. If you've listened to Crown Jewels, you know, especially when I went over the first album, I always mentioned how much the band hated the sound, especially the drum sound. Rogers very clearly hated the drum sound, the flatness of it, and he'll talk about that in the press release. So getting a actual remix, not a remaster, the 2011 Deluxe Remastered, that is different. This is actually a much more in-depth undertaking. This is actually, instead of just like not just the levels, it's actually taking the multi-tracks and taking up different listens of each track and kind of making it sound like it's supposed to, according to what the band wanted, at least what they want now. You can never tell exactly if it would have been exactly how it would have been in 1973, but this is as close as we will probably get. So I'm very excited about that. And I'm hoping that this is the first in a line of things of this nature. We did get the Miracle box set, like I said, but that didn't really need a remix. Queen 2 could use a remix, and some earlier albums could also use some deluxe treatments as well. So I'm hoping we get more of these in the future. And I do wonder if the retitling of the set as Queen 1 is an indication that Queen 2 might be on the way as well, kind of trying to not confuse anybody who doesn't know the history of the band or who came later on after Bohemian Rhapsody, the film, or the Queen and Adam Lambert era, or whatnot. All right, let's continue. This is not just a remaster, writes Brian May in the CD sleeve insert notes. This is a brand new 2024 rebuild of the entire Queen debut album, with which the benefit of hindsight we have retitled Queen 1. May continued, all the performances are exactly as they originally appeared in 1973, but every instrument has been revisited to produce the live ambient sound we would have liked to have used originally. The result is Queen as it would have sounded with today's knowledge and technology. A first. Queen 1 is the debut album we always dreamed of bringing to you. Roger added, the first 3 years were really faith and fumes. We were penniless, but we had a lot of belief in ourselves and a lot of energy. Now, Queen began work on the album in May 1972 and spent the next 4 months living a fractured nocturnal existence. Evenings would be spent waiting around Soho until the studio was ready. An exhausted Queen would emerge from Trident several hours later. We'd work through the night and usually until 7 a.m. when the cleaners came in, recalls Brian. It was us just grabbing little bits of time. Says Roger, we just came in there right after Bowie had done Hunky Dory and Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust. And he had both of those albums back to back, two great albums. So we were very pleased to be there. But when we were there, we'd arrive at 3 in the morning and then go on for all the hours that we could grab. It was just a grind. I wouldn't say it was soul destroying because we were quite confident. We had a sort of innate gentle arrogance. We thought we were good and quite different. Queen recorded the album with Trident's in-house co-producers John Anthony and Roy Thomas Baker. Both were staunch advocates of Queen and had been instrumental in the band siding with Trident. However, the group quickly ran up against studio rules and regulations. Says Brian, although we had great technology around us, we really didn't have much freedom to use it. We were regarded as the new boys who didn't know anything, and nobody really wanted to listen to the way we wanted to do things. While relatively inexperienced, Queen had already had a clear musical vision. However, the huge guitar and drum sounds they heard in their heads proved difficult to recreate at 2 o'clock in the morning and on the studio's in-house Perspex drum kit rather than their own. Says Roger, they had this very dead drum sound, and it was never the sound we wanted. They had a drum booth, and it was a well-known sound. It was kind of American, very dry, quite fat, dead sound, which is not what I wanted. I wanted to hear the drums resonate, to hear the sound of the drum. I didn't even have my proper kit in there. It was a bit rough, really, so the album never sounded as we wanted it to. We wanted everything to sound like it was in your face, said Brian. We had this incredible fight to get the drums out of the booth and into the middle of the studio and put the mics all around the room, but that wasn't Trident's way. I remember saying to Roy Thomas Baker, "This isn't really the sound we want," continues Brian. And he said, "Don't worry, we can fix it all in the mix." And I think we all knew it ain't going to happen. Now in 2024, it has been fixed in the mix. Now let's get into why we're really here. What are we getting? As always, Queen box sets come with very different bundles and things you can get. They're preceding it with the single version of the song The Night Comes Down, which you can listen to on Spotify and YouTube now. I'm not going to go too far into it because I've only taken 1 or 2 listens to it. I will say my first thoughts on that is that it does sound tremendously better. As far as the mix goes, the drums are really recreated very well. That live sound that they're talking about is there. I heard so much more in the instrumentation than I ever heard before. I'm very excited if that's the indication of what we're going to get on this version, on this box set. But take a listen and you can see for yourself. Let me know in the comments what you think, by the way, on that. Night Come Down single. They're having different versions of this release, including the vinyl version of the single. They're having the Queen 1 box set, including all sorts of different versions, picture discs, cassette versions, 7-inch versions. The one I'm going to purchase myself is expensive. It is very expensive. I'm not going to lie. This is not a cheap box set. The complete box set with everything you could possibly want, box set, picture disc, cassette, 7-inch bundle, is a whopping $267.99. That might put some people off, I understand. The one I'm going to get is slightly less. It's $194.99 for the Queen 1 Super Deluxe Edition box set, which basically is the bare bones of everything here. It's the 6 CD and 1 LP box set. There is, for discerning customers, a Queen 1 Deluxe Edition 2 CD version for $25.99 and even a Queen 1 CD for $15.99. If you just want the remixed album, that's what you get. The Deluxe Edition does have a bonus CD, which does have the sessions on it, which we're going to get into in a moment. But there's all sorts of basically combination and formats you can get. I'm going to get the $194.99 version because I don't need the picture disc, cassette, all that kind of stuff. I don't need the kind of the tat like that kind of thing. I just want all the tracks, all the music we're going to get, because that's always been the most important thing to me. So what are we going to get? Let's get back into it. All right, the 6 CD version, CD 1 will be Queen 1, the 2024 mix. Of course, I just told you about the remixing of it. So it's basically the same track listing with one big exception. There's a song called Mad the Swine, which we first heard back in 1991, and Hollywood remixed a version, Hollywood remastering and reissuing of the CD. It came out as a bonus track, was also on a B-side of the band's single, Headlong, at the time. Mad the Swine was a song recorded back in this day, and it was left off the album for various reasons. Mostly the sound, mostly the drum sound, mostly disagreements over things. It was originally slotted to be between Great King Rat and My Fairy King as track 4. And now it has been redone and it has been reinserted into the track listing. So instead of just the 10 tracks, we're getting the Keep Yourself Alive, Doing All Right, Great King Rat, going into Mad the Swine, to be followed by My Fairy King. So I'm very interested to see how that affects my listening, because I've heard the album so many times over the years as it has been done. So it might be very off-putting. However, At the same time, we've only gotten all the additions we've gotten have kind of had this cutoff beginning without a very without a good intro to it at all. I'm thinking that with the Great King Rat outro into Mad This Wine, we're gonna get a full version of the track for the first time. I can't wait to hear it. I think it's gonna be cool. I think it's gonna be a great addition to the album. I do like the song. It's very fun. So I'm very interested to see that for sure. All right, for CD2 is the Day Lane Lay Demos 2024 mix. Now, when I first saw the Day Lane Lay demos, I thought, okay, we understand. I understand as a Queen fan, a lot of these things are going to have previously released stuff. They kind of collect things together. Now, the Day Lane Lay demos were issued back in 2011 for the Island Records. They did the reissue of all the albums with a bonus EP. Day Lane Lay demos were included there. However, this is a 2024 mix, so they're actually remixing the original demos as well, which means we're going to hear things we didn't hear. So I am actually excited about getting the Day Lane Lay demos again because of the 2024 mix. The 5 tracks on that CD: Keep Yourself Alive, The Night Comes Down, Great King Rat, Jesus, and Liar. CD3, Queen One Sessions. Now, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm excited about. This is similar to what we got on the Miracle album box set, the Miracle Collector's Edition. They had a Miracle Sessions album. This is 12 tracks rather. Here they are: Keep Yourself Alive, Trident Take 13, Unused Master, Doing All Right, Trident Take 1 with guide vocal, Great King Rat, Day Lane Lay Take with guide vocal, Mad the Swine, Trident Take 3 with guide vocal, My Fairy King, Trident backing track in development, Liar, Trident Take 1, Unused Master, The Night Comes Down, Day Lane Lay takes 1 and 2 with guide vocals, Modern Times Rock and Roll, Trident takes 8 and 9, Son and Daughter, Trident takes 1 and 2 with guide vocal, Jesus Day Lane Lay take 2 with guide vocal, Seven Seas of Rye, Trident take 3, See What a Fool I've Been, Day Lane Lay test session. Wow, now this is a interesting version for short CD of all the different sessions from both Trident and the Day Lane Lay demos. I love the different versions. You get earlier versions of things, different vocal arrangements, different instrumentation. Let's see how they progressed between then and now. We're probably going to get some studio chatter in there as well. I believe that's usually what happens. Happened on the Miracle, things of that nature. So this is going to be cool. I think this is going to be a very cool version. I'm specifically very interested in a couple of these. I mean, I'm interested in all of them. Very, like 100% interested in all of them. A couple ones that do shout out to me. Seven Seas of Rye, which on the first album was merely a minute-long piano track that they would eventually develop into the full Seven Seas of Rye, which is on Queen 2. But I kind of wonder, is there an earlier version of Queen 2's version, like a full, complete version of the song that they decided at whatever point to carve and say, we'll just do this little quick instrumental tease to go into the next album. I wonder if there's an earlier take. So I don't know if this is just going to be, again, the 1 minute version that we hear on the album, or just going to be a more extended version. I'm interested in that. See What a Fool I've Been, Day Lane Lay test session. This is a song that was a B-side during the Queen 2 era, and it's interesting to see a different earlier version of that. I like to see that very much so. Mad the Swine getting a different take, an earlier take with that. That's very cool. It's very interesting to see a lot of different things. So this is definitely probably my most favorite part of the box set, as always. Getting to hear alternate takes is a big win for me. So yeah, this is the one I'm looking forward to probably the most. There is a disc later on, which I'm kind of intrigued about a couple of tracks on as well, for sure, but we'll get there. Next up, CD4, the Queen One backing tracks. Basically, it's just the CD, including Mad This One in the original order as the album is, and it's just the backing tracks without the vocals. Now, some people think this is a waste. Some people aren't a big fan of that. I don't necessarily love it. If they didn't have this in there, I wouldn't be clamoring for it. However, I will say I do like listening to them once or twice. I know in the Miracle, for example, I heard a lot of things that were covered by vocals in the final versions. So stripping away those vocals, you get to hear different things you might not have heard before. So it definitely is a fresh view on things, an interesting view on things. Not something I'm going to put on all the time, but definitely for a curious sake, I do like it. Are there other tracks out missing from the box set that I probably would have rather had? Sure. But this is definitely worthwhile an inclusion, I believe. CD5, Queen 1 at the BBC. This is one of those, it should be put in there to make the box set complete. However, I'm not very excited about it because it looks basically this. We had the Queen on air box set issued a few years back now, which was the complete BBC sessions, and that this is all just basically taken from that. So it's stuff we already have and has already been out there. But again, I understand why it is in this box set. It makes sense to, if you're going to have a Queen 1 complete box set, this is the kind of track that really should be in there regardless. So I'm still okay with that. CD6, Queen 1 Live. Now, this is the final CD in the box set, and it's a case of some amazing bits and some not so amazing bits. As usual per Queen, unfortunately, I do kind of wish that they could have gotten full concerts, a couple of CDs of full concerts or different things. Unfortunately, tracks 1 through 8, or tracks 1 through 9, I should say, sorry, they're all lifted from the Live at the Rainbow box set version we got a few years back now as well. They're all from the March 1974 show, which wasn't newly released at the time, but they just take tracks we've already heard. Exact Son and Daughter guitar solo, Son and Daughter reprise, Great King Rat, Keep Yourself Alive, drum solo, Keep Yourself Alive reprise, Modern Times Rock and Roll, and Liar, all from that concert. Again, I understand that to a degree, but I would prefer some unreleased stuff like the last 4 tracks we have. The last 4 tracks we have on this CD. Track number 10, Hangman, live in San Diego, March 1976. This was the later on tour, obviously, but this is a track that has long been clamored for in Queen circles. More so the studio version, which I'm going to get to in a little bit. However, we do not get the studio version at all. We don't even know necessarily if that exists. But let's talk about this first. Hangman has been heard on bootleg. We know the band did perform it up through about 1976. So to get a pristine, clean, rocking version of this track is almost worth the box set alone. It's a fun blues rock kind of number that we've only had very poor quality bootleg versions of. Even the best versions we have are passable at best, listenable, but not what you want. This is finally a full pristine version of the song. First time we're going to get that. I love that for sure. So this is definitely a big draw for me. Track number 11, Doing All Right, live in San Diego, March 1976. Again, this is a song we don't have live very much, and this is especially in this era. So 1976 version of Doing All Right, I'm okay with it being from 1976. I think it's fun. It's an unreleased track. That's the most important thing. It's not lifted from Rainbow. It's not lifted from anywhere else. Unreleased live version. This is the kind of stuff I would love to have gotten. I would love to have gotten, even if we didn't get full concerts, I would love to have seen just even a compilation of unreleased live versions from different concerts. That would have made me happier about this sixth CD. Specifically tracks 1 through 9, like I said. But I'm glad we're getting something. I don't want to seem too selfish. I'm glad I'm getting something there. Tracks 12 and 13, though, are definitely the highlight for me of this CD. Track 12, Jesus, and 13, I'm a Man. And these are both lifted from Live at the Imperial College in August of 1970. By far the earliest recording of Queen that will be released. This was something that was talked about a while ago. Brian had mentioned in a interview that they had discovered this recording live at the Imperial College pre-John Deacon on bass, one of the first earliest recordings of Queen that are in existence. Them at a college, very few members in the audience. They were just starting out. They're just learning their craft at this point. So it's fascinating to hear what is going to come from this. There was a talk at one point, maybe they would release the whole concert, which I would have loved. I do know there was some follow-up that maybe they didn't think it was all usable. I mean, it wasn't the greatest recording, I'm sure, but with technology cleaning up, I'm sure we're getting some good stuff here. And just getting Jesus live at all, which is great. And then the cover of I'm a Man, a lot of fun there. So August 1970 recording pre-John Deacon. This is a treasure trove. This right here is worth the price of release, any way you slice it, which is why I couldn't be content with just getting the 2 CD version, because the 2 CD version is just the album, the sessions. It does not include this live track version, so I have to have this for sure. That's it. Those are all the tracks we're gonna get. Now that is a pretty good track list, I believe. It also includes the box set. I'm going to get a 108-page book containing handwritten lyrics, memorabilia, and things of that nature. The picture will be coming up now. I do like that looks of that book as well. That should be fun to watch or to look at as well. All right, now every complete box set is never truly fully complete. So let's get into what is missing. I've gone through Queen Vault and used them as a source for a lot of material for the podcast and as a great just resource of everything that's been collated together over the years. Definitely, I've heard of these things before. I've made my own like notations on things, but it's always nice to be able to just kind of pop onto Queen Vault and kind of have it all in one place that I can look at as a quick looker up, so to speak. So looking at the Queen One sessions or the Queen One part of the website, couple things are not on this box set that would make it a truly more complete version. Is there more stuff in the vaults that we would have put on as fans? Probably. Not going to lie. But all right. We have the US single edit of Keep Yourself Alive. And that is not on this box set. It was released actually much later on in 1975. It just features an editing which basically removes the last 17 seconds. I'm wondering if they didn't put the single versions on because there weren't many single versions. It was only this and the bastardized version of Liar, the US single edit, also not on here. I'm really not surprised of that because the band hated that single edit version, especially the US label had issued it and issued the edit without the band's knowledge. And so they have disowned that for sure. I don't think we'll ever see that on any official Queen product ever again, unless it's way past everyone has passed away and somebody else is just trying to make a little more money by unearthing a curio of sorts. But Keep Yourself Alive also, again, being that it was later on, it might not have been issued for that reason. Not sure, but I think it's okay to not have it. I have heard it before. I'm okay with that. Addition, Trident Studios' early version of Keep Yourself Alive. Now that is something that was found on an acetate, and it could be what we have. It could be what's on this album. Again, track one from the session CD does say Trident Take 13 Unused Master. We don't know what that means. That's the official titling of it. We just know that there's an earlier version that was on an unreleased acetate and did leak into the community. So it could be. We don't know for sure, but I will put that out there. I do know that in the past, News of the World released a Feelings demo, which had been leaked previously to the community as well. We had take 9 and the box set had take 10, which I was happy for. I'm not entirely sure on that. It's off the top of my head. It might be the way around. We might have had take 10 and they released take 9. Either way, we had two different versions, the leaked version and the different take, which is officially released. So I'm kind of hoping for that because I've heard the early version that has been leaked. I'd like to hear something I haven't heard. In addition to that, there is a 7-inch promo mix of Keep Yourself Alive that was withdrawn because basically it was the wrong mix. Again, that could be the early version that we are getting. I'm not sure. Again, though, this is something that it's kind of more of a curio than anything else. No real reason to have it. It probably was destroyed, if anything else, as far as the actual mix goes. Not surprised, but again, if I'm going to document all the things that I know that are missing, it's got to be on there. Keep Yourself Alive, the long lost retake and short lost retake. If you watch the Keep Yourself Alive episode, you know that this was redone in 1975 during the Night at the Opera era when they tried to re-release it to try to take advantage of Queen's rising popularity, re-releasing their first single. And this was a different take, definitely done more to how they were doing it live at the time, a little more energetic, a little more rocking. This was shelved for a long time. It was only released when Queen went to Hollywood Records. It was issued on the Queen One reissue as a bonus track, and I do like this version quite a lot. However, it was never. However, having it on this album might be against what they had in mind because maybe they're going to put it on a Night at the Opera issue because that's when it was actually recorded. It does fit that kind of like thing. However, at the same time, I look at that, I'm like, well, they do have 1976 Hangman, 1976 doing all right. So I don't know. You probably should have put it here potentially, but I kind of understand at the same time. There's also reportedly a short loss retake from the same acetates. This one has not been issued anywhere. Basically just cuts it down a little bit though. But again, for sake of completeness, it should be there. Next up, that's missing, possibly missing, I should say, we have Great King Rat, Take One and Take Four, which are played at the conventions over the years. I mean by that is Greg Brooks would often come to Queen fan club conventions and he would play earlier versions of tracks, usually putting a property of Queen Productions over it, so that would prevent it from leaking out to the internet. Spoiler alert, it did not. They are out there to be found. Of course, they are slightly ruined with that, though. So if they ever want to issue a full version, people would be chomping at the bit for it for sure. Keepers, but I'm sorry, Great King Rat does have an issued version here. It's the Day Lane Lay Take One with guide vocal. So is that the one that we're talking about here? Is it Take One, that one? Or is the one that was released, was it the Take One from the Trident sessions? So without knowing that for certain, we don't really know. So we could be getting that in full, or it could be a completely different to Take One, because Day Lane Lay sessions, the Trident sessions, two different sessions. So I don't know about that, but we'll find out. But definitely getting at least missing one of them, because at least Take Four is nowhere to be found. So that's something that's regarded as left to the cutting room floor and the convention circuit. Son and Daughter had a single version, which was censored, just titled the Australian censored version, because of the naughty word that was edited out. The famous word, down and shovel shit. They actually edited out two verses to censor the song. Instead of just censoring the word, they actually cut out two verses. So I completely understand why that's not in there. Here are the more interesting bits. There are some recordings that we know happened. Silver Salmon was a track they did back in the day. It was a Smile era track that they performed a bunch. How we do have a leaked version of this. However, most Queen fans will know, or hardcore Queen fans will tell you, that the release version, or I should say the leaked version, comes from the News of the World session, as the band would often play a lot of early tracks to warm up, so to speak. And the sound of the drums and things of that nature led us to believe, quite frankly, that this Silver Salmon that has been released, or leaked rather, is from the News of the World sessions. But you gotta believe that Silver Salmon was probably recorded during the Queen One sessions at some point. So that is a possible missing version, but we don't know for sure. Same with Feelings, a demo that might have eventually become Feelings. Similar situation, definitely dated back to this time for sure. So we're missing that possibly. The two bigger ones, I'll say, that we know for sure. Well, one we only know for sure. Let's get into this. Let's get into Hangman. Hangman is, of course, the famous mythical track. They played it live. We're getting the live version from 1976, which is awesome. But it's always been kind of a question mark whether this was actually recorded in the studio or not. The band even don't really fully remember, which is understandable years later. There was a Queen scholar by the name of John S. Stewart, a great super fan and super collector, who has unfortunately passed away. There was talk at one point, I don't know if he said it or what was said at one point, that he actually had found an acetate version of the studio version of Hangman that was going to be his prized possession. Other people later on have come forward and said later on that he did not have this. I'm not sure what the miscommunication was. If he ever claimed that, I don't want to get into that. I don't really know. But I know that was the story for a while. There was one out there, and that the band had been maybe trying to get it from him at some point. He did actually give the band. He was the one that was responsible for giving the band the live at the Sync, IBEX Live at the Sync, I believe it was, and for the Freddie Mercury box set. Unfortunately, there was some also miscommunication where there was some lost masters or lost acetates. I don't remember exactly how it went down now. This is off the top of my head. So it might be why they never kind of reformed the relationship with the Queen Productions company. But so I don't know. We don't really know if it's out there. If it is out there, it's not on here. Which leads me to believe, in the later years, I've heard people say that John didn't have it, and that was kind of a rumor that had gone around. And I feel like if it was there, the band would have put it on here. I mean, if they're going to put the live version from San Diego and they had a studio version, I would think they would put that on there as an unreleased version. So I have to believe it's not, it probably doesn't exist, or at least is not in any kind of salvageable, listenable way. The final track that we our know is missing is Polar Bear, which is a definite. It was a Smile session song. Smile song they recorded, but there's definitely a Freddie version in the vaults. It has leaked. It is out there. It is a pretty cool version. I would love to have heard a really cleaned up version of it, and that would have fit very well with this. Which does actually throw the Hangman thing into the thing because we don't have any unreleased songs in here at all. There's no unreleased new songs coming out. They're all different takes of songs we know, things of that nature. So that is missing, and that is unfortunate. That's probably my biggest missing track here is Polar Bear because I know that exists, so it definitely should be on here in some form. But when you think about it, if you look at that, looking at everything we do get, I think it's just a great issue. I think it's a great box set. I'm actually looking forward to this very much. I think this is one of the better box sets Queen have done over the years. Sure, there's a lot of stuff on here that's a little extra that we don't need, and I would love to have seen if there had been a 3 CD version of the 2024 mix, the Queen One sessions and the live tracks. Especially the 4 live tracks, I might have gotten that. Although I do want the Day Late and Late demos 2024 mix as well. Again, I could do without the BBC stuff, but again, understandable why it's in there. So overall, I think this is pretty much as good as we could have wanted. Perhaps the full Live at the Imperial would have been a great thing to listen to. Perhaps an unreleased live concert from this era, or even a compilation of different tracks over the years that have been unreleased would have been nice. But overall, I'm not going to cry about what we didn't get. I'm going to be happy that we got something that seems like a worthwhile product, if a little expensive, but still a worthwhile product. So what do you guys think about it? Let me know. And finally, now for all those who actually listen to Crown Jewels on a regular basis, what does this mean for Crown Jewels? How am I going to incorporate this stuff now? It's kind of been doing this podcast for a while and never really thought about what I would do when new stuff comes out because we don't get a whole lot of new stuff. I could go back and redo episodes. I could do the entire first album again and call it the revisited episode. I could simply just talk about the new versions or do an updated version, talk about the new versions versus what I initially put as the crown jewel and see if it overtakes the current crown jewel champion of each track. That's a possibility. Or I could do something a little simpler. I could just do a one big episode where I review the box set and the different versions of them and kind of instead of listening to everything or instead of comparing everything, I can just say, go through each track in one episode. Go Keep Yourself Alive, Doing All Right, and see which is better there. I haven't fully come up with my decision yet how to do it, but that will definitely be happening. Something will be happening because I got to reincorporate what's coming out in October for the podcast. Let me know what you think in the comments. How do you want me to tackle this? How would you rather hear me? Would you rather hear me do the entire episode again? Would you rather hear me take on just the new versions, do one big review episode and kind of intersplice that with the review with how it would fit into my Queen Crown Jewels playlist and just update it there? Let me know. I don't know. But thank you so much for checking us out. I hope you enjoyed this little undertaking, this little look into the box set. I'm excited. I hope you're excited as well. If you're a Queen fan, again, leave me a lot of comments about what you think about it, what you think what's missing for you, what you would want on it, what you like, what you don't like. And subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. I do a Patreon where you can get early access to the Crown Jewels episodes because I record them usually earlier in the week than they come out on Fridays on the Crown Jewels Network. I also have a movie and TV show, my original PLD Project channel, where I go through a lot of movie franchises. I talk about Star Wars there a lot. I talk about the 1980s sci-fi show there. And I do a lot of cool stuff as well. Do some music stuff over there as well. Actually, I've done one-offs podcasts, which features a lot of different, which features guests talking about their favorite acts. I've done one about Oasis. I've done one about Van Halen. I'm about to do one on Billy Joel. I do, like I said, patreon.com/PLD Projects if you can. It's wonderful to have you there. If not, I get it. Just a like, comment, trying to fight the almighty algorithm. And I will see you next time on Crown Jewels. Coming out actually, no, Friday. We have a new episode coming out. Take care and take a look at that. It is Save Me. I take that back. It is not Save Me because Save Me just came out. It is A Human Body, Roger Taylor's written and sung B-side, and that will be the next episode. But until then, keep yourself alive, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.